We're still here at 76ers Trading Complex headquarters in Camden, New Jersey. Our Sixers Draft Live coverage continuing with Steve Donahue and Marissa Pilla. I'm Brian Seltzer. Had an opportunity to catch our breaths a bit. We heard a very impassioned and conviction-filled press conference featuring 76ers head coach Brett Brown, also the acting head of basketball operations for the team right now. Steve, what were some of your takeaways after you heard Brett talk about acquiring Zaire Smith and also Landry Shamet?
Well, the first takeaway is, he was very transparent about how difficult the decision was with the local connections and his mother obviously working here for the Sixers. It's a remarkable night for a first-time GM on the job having to make that decision. And when you look at it, if you just looked at it on paper, it's a heck of a decision because that's a heck of an asset to have, that first-round pick in 2021, unprotected, and it may be the first year that high school players are allowed. So it may be a huge draft. And to throw in the second guy on their board that they really liked. So, and I think it's a win-win all around. It's emotional, but I think it's a really good night for the Sixers.
76ers, Brett Brown in particular, saying the team was going to be bold. They have been that so far. And yeah, it sounds like very much the Sixers had the future in mind and highly valued that future first-round pick. Brown saying this is an organization that is star hunting right now, and who knows, the link to a championship could be that extra first-round pick they acquired and helping the Sixers get another piece that could get them to where they want to go. Marissa, she was on the social circuit earlier tonight. She was on a conference call with the 76ers' two first-round acquisitions. What'd you hear?
Well, Zaire Smith sounded really comfortable and confident about being part of the Sixers organization. He said when he was walking across the stage, he knew he was going to Philly. So he already had that mindset, although he had that Phoenix Suns hat on. He knew in his head and his heart it was all Philly from there on out. And he had an interesting quote talking about the Sixers and what he had seen from them. He said he watched a lot of games, especially in the playoffs. And what he said was, they run in transition. I feel like I can be a part of that. Ben Simmons, he brings it up, makes good passes. I'm a good cutter, so he'll make me look good. So I like how he's already thinking about how he can contribute to this team, how the players around him on this new team will be able to make him a great asset. But he was very confident. He's a man of few words, it's what I gathered from that conference call, but he says he's ready to show what he can do on this court.
Sounds like Brett Brown was thinking of another player in mind when he was projecting out what Zaire could be.
He said, yeah, he said when he met with Brett Brown, they had a really good conversation, and Brett Brown compared him to Kawhi Leonard, which is a really interesting comparison, especially now. So he said he's someone that he can see being transformed into a different type of player and someone who's very coachable. So it was really interesting to hear that come from Zaire.
There are some similarities in terms of where they were in college and where they hope Smith gets to. I think Smith only took 40 three-pointers attempted.
Yep.
That's probably a very similar number to Kawhi. And Kawhi was not a very good three-point shooter. Became a great three-point shooter in the NBA. There's also a personality about Smith I think probably reminds him of Leonard. Very quiet, yet confident, yet wanting to help the team win. I think you can see Brett really liked him for those reasons. And lastly, the athleticism. Kawhi Leonard was a great athlete, but no one knew exactly how good a basketball player. I think Brett sees that kind of potential as well.
And talking about the three-point shooting, somebody brought that up in the press conference and pointed out that he didn't take a lot of three-pointers, and he said one of the reasons why was because the position he was playing wasn't really always available to him, but he said he's fully confident in his ability to take those three-point shots and says he thinks he really showed the team during his workouts his shooting range and feels good about what he was able to show them, and obviously the Sixers organization feels good about what he did show.
Sixers reportedly are going to make a move up to pick number 54, potentially, in exchange for 56 and 60. So that pick is coming up soon, but right now we'll go to the one-on-one we conducted with Zaire Smith when he was in town for his first of two pre-draft workouts. When you look at this past season, When you got moved into the starting lineup, what clicked at that point in January, midway through the season for you guys that helped things get rolling for you?
Despite the Zach Smith injury, we just had to play together because we lost a big piece, so everybody had to step their game up.
Did you surprise yourself at all with what you were able to do?
I did. I really did surprise myself.
You put up really efficient numbers on both ends of the court. Can you give me a summary of where you think your skill set is at right now, offensively, and then flip it over to the defensive side of the floor?
Offensively, I can be really aggressive, but passive a little bit, so I got to continue to be more aggressive. And defensively, I can go out 1 through 3, and pick and rolls and everything. And pretty good on defense, though. I think that's my strength.
You told the media group that you view yourself as someone who prides himself on defense. Have you always been a defense-first guy? When did you gain some confidence and start to really refine your defensive game?
Yeah, I've always been a really good defensive guy. When I first started playing basketball in 5th grade, that's all I did was just block shots.
As far as your overall package, what's been the major things you've wanted to showcase in these workouts?
My ability to handle the ball, come off screens and make the right play.
All right, Zaire, thanks so much. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, some of the words from Zaire Smith. Yeah, a man who's very businesslike, but Brett Brown, and you being from this area, Delaware County, born and bred, it is amazing to me how Brett Brown, someone from dreaded New England, can come in here and so quickly get the fabric of the city, which I guess isn't too dissimilar from what you get up in Boston and South Portland, Maine area, but he gets the fabric of the city, and he said that Zaire Smith, one of the quotes from Brett's press conference, Zaire Smith was bred for the city of Philadelphia, which, I mean, interpret that as you will, but that is meant as a high compliment.
No doubt, and I agree with you. I think that's what makes Brett so likable to the fan, is that you could see there was pain in his telling the story of what just happened. I think people appreciate that honesty and, as I said earlier, the transparency that he showed. And I think that's what people respect here in Philly. Brett doesn't sugarcoat it and says as it is, in a positive way at the same time. It's pretty refreshing.
Sixers with their first 2 picks, both in the first round, were players that they ended up getting. Zaire Smith at 16 and then Landry Shamet at number 26. Those were 2 guys that the team brought in for a workout. So that's interesting, and now we're getting word that the Dallas Mavericks at 54 have picked Shake Milton, and reports are that the Sixers will be acquiring 54 in exchange for 56 and 60, and Shake Milton was in here for a workout. So maybe it's just a coincidental development this year, but by the same token, it could also be a telling thing.
It's a great nickname.
That's right.
Shake Milton is a great nickname. As you know, his dad was named the Milkman, right?
That's right. That's right. We did confirm that.
Of course, you would name your son Shake.
It's terrific. Love it. But
honestly, if that happens, he's obviously a great scorer at SMU.
Yeah.
Hurt his hand at the end of the year, I believe, and did not play the last handful of games, and really hurt SMU.
Yeah. He was the conference preseason player of the year, and I want to say it was the first workout that the 76ers held that he was in for, but for his career, shot over 42% from 3 on a pretty high volume number of attempts, good free throw shooter. So why not at that point? So now we're getting the official word that this will potentially look like the 76ers at 56, but ultimately it could be the Sixers ending up with Shake Milton. So if it ends up being 3 acquisitions for the Sixers tonight, Zaire Smith, Landry Shamet, and Shake Milton. First one, Brett Brown, he was very upfront in saying that Mikal Bridges, if he had been here, he's someone who could have been slotted in potentially right away. Zaire Smith, going to probably need some development time, maybe not, but more likely than not he will. And then you've got 2 experienced college players who could find a position perhaps in the G League, on the Summer League at least.
Yeah, I think they, as I said this before, as much as the Sixers have a proven rotation of really solid players, we still don't know where this is all going.
Right.
In terms of unsigned, unrestricted free agents and future signings. Where these three guys fit in exactly, they can't tell you right now. Probably tell you maybe in 3 weeks when all the free agent stuff is done. But I like all three guys. I think they upgraded. As we talked about 12 through 15, like they're three really good, talented basketball players. How good? I'm not sure anybody knows, but they definitely upgraded the level of talent throughout the roster, 12 through 15 at worst.
We can't really speculate whom the 76ers may have in mind, but one thing we can say is we know about that future first-round pick. Going back to that, we talked about it a few minutes ago. There was no question after maybe the first 30 seconds of Brett Brown's press conference that was, and this is to take nothing away from Zaire Smith, that was a massive part of them getting that deal done. Because Brett said there was another phone call about McHale, and the Sixers passed
that
on
he thought was pretty good too.
Yeah.
But not this.
No.
Which, listen, he had the great quote that you said. He's star chasing, I think is what it is. Star hunting.
Yes, yeah, that was it.
That's pretty exciting if you're a Sixer fan. That's how aggressive they are, whether it's free agents or trades. He feels there's another piece needed, and he's going to, that's, I'm sure, was in the back of his mind when that offer was taken, that this will help us do that.
And that's a message not just for the fan base, although I'm sure it was. That's a message for the rest of the league and players out there. I mean, you couldn't have been more clear about what the 76ers' desires and intentions are, whether or not it will happen, come to fruition. That obviously remains to be seen. But the Sixers have a vision to do things boldly and confidently, and that is what they've done tonight. Last we heard, and based on the attendance of the media members who are still here, there was going to be one more media availability with Brett Brown, so we will be streaming that for you at some point later on tonight. We should mention, just touching up on some notes, Jalen Brunson was taken early on in the second round to the Dallas Mavericks, so Aluka, Dennis Smith, Jalen Brunson, depth chart in the backcourt. They're obviously all not the same position, but that's some legit young talent.
I think it's a great spot for Jalen, really. And that's two good pieces, young players who can help him right away for a team that's obviously in a rebuilding mode. But that's two really good players. And Dennis Smith proven that he's going to be a scorer in this league for sure.
Yeah, I think you think about what's left there. They've got some talent on the wing in Wes Matthews.
Got the, trying to think of
Nerlens Noel, obviously,
free
was
agent
on a restricted.
from Golden State, Duke. Why am I forgetting his name?
Free agent, Golden State, Duke.
Not ringing a bell with you?
This stage of the night. It's passing my mind, too. We should go to the social lounge. I'm sure someone will correct us on that. Yeah, there's some interesting stuff down there in Dallas. They can make a jump forward. Anything else takeaway-wise that you will be left with as far as lasting impressions?
You know what? There was a period of years that foreign players were taken so early, and that everyone was enamored with that. That changed now. Now we're back to American-born players. And even though the NBA has gone small, the first 7 out of 9 picks were length, athleticism, rim protectors, things like that.
Zaire Smith was on the mind of Brett Brown, and we'll hear what Brett Brown had to say about Zaire Smith. He said that the Sixers had 1A and 1B on their board. They took Mikal Bridges, but then when they had a chance to get 1B and Zaire Smith and a future draft pick, in the first round, they did not pass it up. In Zaire that made him your 1B.
The fact that he has a foundation that is incredibly unique in relation to his athleticism, the foundation that he has in his character, the foundation that he has in his defense, the incredible growth that we're seeing in his shot, his ability to create his own shot. There's no mystery of how we want to play here in Philadelphia, nor is there no mystery on the direction our sport is growing. And so when you weigh it all up, And I anointed him 1B. It's really, you know, an incredible situation that we had to navigate through once we got that offer. And so as we judged Zaire, we saw a person, we saw a player, we saw a place that we need to develop him, to grow him and take him. And we believe entirely, in time, he has the ability to be incredibly unique, maybe even great. And I think so that the city, and you all hear me say, Mikal Bridges would have come in and slotted in and played right away. Zaire is going to be fighting for some minutes, and we are going to develop him, and we are excited to do that. And he may jump into this thing in a quicker way. And we all understand the reality and the history of what 10th player chosen do really to the NBA and coming in and playing minutes. It's rare that a 10th pick comes in and plays, even on poor teams. And so we believe we're going to take Zaire and put him into our development system and polish up all those things. And we're excited. The city of Philadelphia is going to love him because of his complete competitiveness, his athleticism, and his toughness. He is bred for the city of Philadelphia.
Dave Murphy with the Inquirer in the back.
Yes, Dave.
How prevalent were the discussions about, or how cognizant were you of wanting to add to your portfolio of picks for a potential future trade? You had mentioned that before the draft. Was that something that you really wanted to accomplish? Was that something that you had hoped to accomplish?
I don't understand your question, please.
Like did you want to add to your asset portfolio in case of a trade before the draft? Was that something that was a goal of yours?
We talked about it all the time, you know, and it always comes back to what you hear us say all the time, like, how do you get a star? You know, you're going to need assets. We understand that. If you're going to really want to go out into a trade, they're going to look at what do you have, and the more good things we have, obviously the better off we can attract, you know, the stars that we all know are out there. And so we talked about it. Did we, you know, hunt it? Did we seek it? No. You know, had this opportunity not come up, we would have been thrilled to move on as our draft reflected, the selection reflected. And so we did talk about it to actively pursue it. That was not on the cards. It happened organically. It wasn't something that we sought. They chased us. They chased us, and they chased us hard. And obviously, you know, the rewards, the asset that they gave up, were something that was hard for us to backpedal from.
Jessica Camerado, NBC Sports Philadelphia. Hi, Brett. How did the second workout with Zaire impact your decision here?
His shot, like, we loved his character, we loved his athleticism. Now it's going to be like, how do you predict, how do you project his shot? How does that transfer to the NBA three-point line? And, you know, with the measurements and the drills and the metrics, when you really studied it, we see upward trends that suggest he's going to be just fine. He's going to take an athleticism, he's going to combine a toughness. Now you got sort of that elusive 3-and-D player that also can create his own shot. I think all of us, you hear that terminology, you know, 3-and-D, it requires more nowadays. You know, you're going to have to do stuff off a live ball. You're going to have to do stuff off a catch-go. It's not just I can guard my man and I can make a three. It's deeper than that nowadays. And the growth of Zaire as it relates to the future of our sport, how we want to play, you could see it. You know, you could see it in his workouts. You could see it in portions of his college career. And we felt strong enough to anoint him 1B. And he really made us think a lot in the second workout because he was that, we think, good in that time frame.
76ers Draft Live. We are in the final stages. Officially, the Sixers are on the clock right now for the 60th and final pick, which they are about to make. Let's listen to Mark Tatum announce who it is. How about that? The youngest brother of Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kostas Antetokounmpo, who Steve Donahue, your Pennsylvania Quakers, beat in December at Dayton.
Yeah. He did not even play much in that game. I'm kind of surprised.
He didn't really do a whole lot of much.
It's all potential. Obviously, they looked at his brother and where he came from, and at 60, it's probably, and we don't assume he's going to be here, right?
Right. We have been hearing reports that perhaps there could be some movement involving the 56th and 60th pick, which the Sixers hold, and the 54th pick, which is held by the Dallas Mavericks. At 54, the Mavericks took Shake Milton. Milton was here for a workout, and we caught up with him afterwards. Catching up with SMU product Shake Milton. Let's talk about your season last year for SMU. Before the right hand injury, you were having a terrific year. How good did you feel about the way you were playing?
I felt really good. I felt like our team in general was just right there hitting our peak, and then everybody seemed like they were going down with injury. But you know, you can't really control that. That's sometimes just the way things go. But you know, other than that, it felt really good to just be out there and helping my team win.
Three-point shooting, obviously a big area of specialty for you. How dangerous do you think you can be?
I think that's one of my strengths, it's one of my calling cards, just being able to space the floor and be ready to knock down shots. I think that's something I can bring right away.
When you look at what you've accomplished so far, where has the biggest development in your game come over the last 3 years?
I'd probably just say my IQ, understanding the game, being able to pick up on things quickly. I think the coaching staff at SMU did a really good job of helping develop that, and I'm excited to just be able to get to teams and show it off.
That was Shake Milton after his workout with the 76ers. Not sure quite where he will end up, but a prospect who was at one point on the 76ers radar. We three back again as we get to some final thoughts from a dramatic, we can say dramatic draft night, exciting draft night. Kind of reminds you what it's like to be a team not at the top again as the Sixers make some moves.
Yeah, it's not what you thought coming in. There's a lot of emotion in this building. And I think the fans will have a lot to talk about. I'm sure you heard on social.
There's plenty to talk about. There's no shortage of storylines to follow on Twitter tonight, and we thank everybody who participated online, sending us tweets, commenting on the live feed. We love the participation, but there was no shortage of things to talk about, plenty to talk about online as we check in with some of the final tweets throughout the night. We had a lot of fans talking about, you know, how underrated some of these players were that the Sixers took, especially Zaire Smith, saying he was one of the most underrated players in the draft. Really looking forward to him, and a lot of people really positive on Shamet fitting well with Ben Simmons. What do you guys think, or do you agree with the fans that this is a real big upside, that these were underrated players?
Shamet is exactly what I think they need to complement what they have. Now, is he good enough at this point to physically play in the NBA? But talk of a catch and shoot, I don't know if there's a better catch and shoot guy in the draft. So if they wanted to accomplish that, they did that tonight.
Sounds like based upon just, we spoke about this earlier in the first round, if you were looking at the naked eye test, he's someone who passed it as far as just a guy who on film looked like he could play up or do things at the next level.
No doubt. I think, and listen, we don't know where the roster's going to be. These three may be integral parts of what the Sixers are doing based on who they can re-sign, who the free agent signings are. You may need less expensive contracts to fill important roles, not too dissimilar to what Golden State has done. Not that we're at that level, but if they get another high-priced free agent, you're going to need younger players with lower salaries.
Some of you out there may put this in the mercifully category, but for us, we're just about done right now. We will have a final press conference with Brett Brown on a separate stream coming up in just a few moments. There are an abundance of people to thank, too many where I would probably omit names, but in particular as I scan around, Aaron Telasnik, Nina Raspa, excellent job, Ryan Coletti, Charlie Widows, Ryan Disdeer, and Maggie Zerby. Awesome job. Guys, this was terrific. Thank you for coming out and
Thanks for having me,
supporting
Brian.
the cause. Yeoman's work. Yeah, it was fun. Hopefully you enjoyed the draft live stream as well and got something out of it. Listen, coming up, so yeah, we have the Brett Brown press conference tonight, and then I'd say within about the next week and a half, be on the lookout. Summer League training camp taking place right here, and then the 76ers debut in the NBA Summer League in Las Vegas on Friday night, July the 6th from Thompson Mack Center. Got to think some of the guys they picked up tonight will be out there. So thanks so much. Stay tuned for Brett's press conference coming up in a little bit. Enjoy the rest of what's left of your draft day. See ya.